Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regular meeting of council. I'll start with the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we live, work, and gather on the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin people, specifically the Temiskaming First Nation. We recognize the presence of the Temiskaming First Nation in our community since time immemorial and honor their long history of welcoming many nations to this beautiful territory and uphold and uplift their voice and values. I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Roll call.
Good evening, Your Worship. All members of council are present, and I'll note that Councillor Melanie Ducharme is joining virtually this evening.
Thank you. Takes us to item 4, review of revisions or deletions to the agenda. Seeing none. Takes us to item 5, the approval of the agenda. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that City Council approves the agenda as printed. Can I get a mover, please? It's Councillor Whalen, seconded by Councillor Pelletier-Leving. Discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. Is there any disclosure or pecuniary interest in general nature? Seeing none. Item 7, we don't have any items today for the public meetings pursuant to the Planning Act, Municipal Act, and other statutes. Takes us to item 8, review and adoption of council minutes. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that City Council approves the following minutes as printed. A, the regular council meeting held on September the 17th, 2024. B, the Committee of the Whole meeting held on October the 1st, 2024. And C, the special council meeting held on September the 17th, 2024 and October the 7th, 2024. Can I get a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Wilson. By Councillor Graydon. Discussion? Everybody's okay with those minutes? Okay, we do have a resolution in front of us. All in favor? That motion is carried. Takes us to item 9, presentations and delegations. I'll start with 9A from Dwayne and John Shimko, read the Municipal Pet Rescue Support and the Regional Task Force.
Hi there, it's just me, Dwayne, tonight. John actually does this with me, my husband, but he's at the Cobalt meeting because he does their live streaming for them.
Okay.
So I'm on my own.
Perfect.
I know my time is limited, so I'm going to get started right away.
Dwayne, if you wanted to... Hey, no worries. Awesome.
It's funny because we've been presenting to so many different councils and some of them are so informal. This is my first microphone. Okay. Have you ever been so overwhelmed that you didn't think you could go on? Your bills are overdue, you can't afford your rent, your car's in the shop, the car you borrowed is just broken down on you, your business has flooded again, your phone won't stop ringing, you can't keep up with texts and emails, everyone's depending on you, and you're expected to keep doing more with less. Well, that's Jennifer McEwen's life. Every day. You see, Jen runs Northern Animals Rescue and Sanctuary. We'll call it NARS for short. And it's bursting at the seams with unwanted cats and dogs, and it has been for a long time. As is every rescue right now. We're in a crisis. Province-wide, country-wide, worldwide. People in animal rescue are stretched so thin and are so overwhelmed that their own mental, physical, and financial welfare are taking a beating. The burnout and suicide rate is very high for people involved in animal rescue. This pet overpopulation crisis has been created by people. It's complicated and it's widespread, but just like the issues of climate change, addiction, homelessness, we need to start tackling this problem locally in our own community. And we can't wait any longer. This is where I introduce myself as Dwayne Shimko, and I say this is John, but he's not here. We recently moved to New Liskeard from Temiskaming. Before living in Temiskaming, we lived in southern Ontario. We own property in New Liskeard and in Temiskaming. My husband used to be on the Temiskaming Council, and he now works for the town as their economic development officer. Before that, he was their Parks and Rec director, and for 4 years he was the economic development officer on Bear Island, where I was teaching. I'm a retired teacher, and I now spend my time working in animal rescue and caring for my elderly parents. John and I both have been supporting Northern Animals Rescue and Sanctuary with our time and money for a number of years now. I'm here as an individual, though, not for the rescue, although they're aware of our presentation. It's public knowledge by now that Jennifer McEwen's rescue that she started 6 years ago in New Liskeard is struggling to keep its doors open. For years, she and her volunteers have taken in the area's homeless, stray, and unwanted animals. She currently has over 50 dogs and over 80 cats at the rescue. They're now either housed under the rescue's roof or temporarily living with volunteer fosters. I have 7 at my house right now. The rescue also has taken in raccoons, gerbils, guinea pigs, horses, other household pets, and farm animals that no one else will commit to caring for. NARS is run entirely on donations, sales from the Hidden Treasures secondhand store in New Liskeard, and the personal finances and resources of Jen and her volunteers. The expenses to run the rescue far outweigh the money that comes in. Rent, utilities, upkeep, insurance has to be paid for the rescue building as well as the building Hidden Treasures store. The vet bills alone can get up to $30,000 a month, which include emergency care, spay and neuter clinics, and vaccination clinics. In my last presentation, and in my previous ones to other councils, I've done 5 so far, I referred to the parvo outbreak that was in the area that hadn't hit the rescue yet. Well, it hit, and it hit hard. NARS currently has 26 puppies and 3 adult dogs receiving veterinary care for parvo virus. Temiskaming Vet quoted the rescue a cost of approximately $1,500 per puppy for treatment. So do the math. 30 times $1,500 is about $45,000. The vet bill, I just spoke to Priscilla, who keeps track of that at the rescue, is already approaching $17,000 right now. Some dogs and puppies were already adopted out, and so they've gone to other vets, but most of them are at Temiskaming Vet Services. Canine parvo is a deadly virus which can affect dogs of all ages, but it's most common in unvaccinated dogs less than 1 year of age. Symptoms can include lethargy, bloody diarrhea, vomiting, fever. There's no cure for parvo, but it can be treated. There is a vaccination for it, but puppies are very vulnerable, as they often get sick before they can get all their vaccinations and build up their immunity. That's why there's a problem with unvaccinated dogs coming into the rescue, either as surrenders or strays, because they can carry the virus and pass it along to the other animals before you even see the symptoms. Some municipalities, like Temiskaming Shores, have their own animal control officer, but most don't. Right now, if an animal control or bylaw officer picks up a stray without identification, they need to do something with it. They can either call a rescue or find a place to house it, like their own municipal kennel. If the municipality keeps the animal, a staff member is needed to check on and care for it. If no one claims the animal, not only does the municipal employee have to figure out what to do with it, but there's no economic return. There weren't any fines collected or tags that were bought by the person claiming the animal. Currently, the regional humane societies are not accepting animals as they are at capacity. Jennifer has historically taken in these unclaimed animals at her own expense, and many are still living there. For example, Helix, a large adult Rottweiler that was not claimed from Temiskaming Shores Animal Control, has been at NARS since June. He requires daily medication for pain relief and a large pen to himself. He was slated to get neutered last week, but he couldn't go due to the parvo outbreak. Since our first presentation on September 10th, 14 local stray cats have been brought into the rescue. Tomorrow, 2 adult cats and 5 kittens are coming in from the Earlton area, as well as, I was just told by Priscilla, there is an adult cat unclaimed from animal control coming in tomorrow as well. So that would make about 20. In September, Jen was contacted by a lady who trapped a feral cat in Temiskaming Shores. Jen asked her to contact the city animal control, so she did. She called back to say animal control told her to let the cat go. This wasn't even after hours. So Jen started to make space in an already overcrowded shelter for this cat so she could get it vaccinated and neutered, because the rescue has 2 local farms who have agreed to take in feral cats once they've been vaccinated and fixed. But now this feral cat is back out in the community and is free to impregnate female cats in heat. A male cat can mate several times a night with several females. The feral cat population increases exponentially when not kept in check. This is not a good use of animal control. Also in September, we learned of 2 people purchasing bully breed puppies from a person in Chamberlain Township. These puppies became deathly ill within hours of purchase and had to receive emergency care for parvovirus. This may have been the source of the outbreak. Upon a simple Facebook search, I discovered that this person has been illegally breeding bully breeds for years. Stories are coming out of the deplorable living conditions these dogs have been in. Infected puppies are being left to die agonizing deaths without veterinary care. This kind of stuff is happening every day in our communities. Last week, a stray dog was found in Harley Township. When the person called the municipality, they said there was nothing they could do about it. On the weekend, a person in Cobalt posted on Facebook that they were giving away 12 puppies. They said they tried selling them but had no success, so if they couldn't give them away, they would have to go to the rescue. But they didn't realize the rescue can't take in any unvaccinated dogs right now due to the parvo outbreak. When asked why they bred their dogs, the person said, and I have a screenshot, this is a quote, "I wanted them to have a little family before I took their chance away. I'm keeping one male pup so they can raise their baby, but didn't think she would have 13 pups. Definitely not doing this again, LOL. But at least mom and dad will know how it feels to raise a baby. I didn't feel right taking that away from them." This kind of misguided, irresponsible thinking is costly to municipalities and contributing directly to the pet overpopulation. If NARS were to close its doors, where would these 12 puppies go? Jennifer already has a large facility up and running, which is inspected regularly and meets industry standards. It's equipped with year-round heating and cooling systems, running hot and cold water, laundry facilities, space for vaccination clinics, public washrooms, individual kennels, as well as group rooms, outdoor fenced-in runs, parking lot. NARS is in the second year of a 10-year lease with the owners of the building at 360 Armstrong Street North. Jan already has good working relations and connections with local vets, and I have letters of support from Dr. Karen Catt and Temiskaming Veterinary Services. They run vaccination clinics for her, and the Humane Society in North Bay offers her 2 spay-neuter clinics a month at a reduced rate. NARS pays for all this vet care themselves. If the rescue is forced to close, municipalities would lose all these services and networking, which they've been providing for free. So in essence, local municipalities have been benefiting from Jen's hard work and resources for years. Who's going to do this when she's all tapped out and the volunteers are all tapped out? There is a pet overpopulation crisis right now, right here in our area. If NARS were to close its doors tomorrow, the local municipalities would have to deal with the mess. We can't euthanize ourselves out of this situation. We know that municipalities have limited budgets for charitable donations and they can't afford to pay the rescue's bills. And quite frankly, donations, although desperately needed and appreciated, only go so far. They're just Band-Aid solutions. We need long-term solutions. So we're asking each council that we present to appoint 1 or 2 members to join a task force to work together with us to find solutions without any financial obligation at this time. Because what municipalities can do is they can help reduce the strain on the rescues by reducing the number of animals that are brought in. This can be done by doing things like writing and enforcing stricter bylaws to end puppy mills and backyard breeding, forcing pet owners not only to license their pets but vaccinate them. By the way, I think we've all heard of the death of the child with rabies. It's provincial law, you must vaccinate your dog for rabies, but no one's enforcing this locally. And also, we could be applying for, municipalities could apply for government funding, such as the Emergency Preparedness Grant to help bring affordable vet care to rural communities. If we all work together and pool our resources, the rescues could stay open and everyone would benefit. We have commitments so far from 5 municipalities we've already presented to. Once we finish all our presentations, we will then hold our first task force meeting to brainstorm our terms of reference and come up with collaborative solutions. The members of the task force can then report back to their own councils. We hope that by all working together as a region here in northeastern Ontario, we can make a difference and maybe provide a model and a framework for other regions to do the same. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for your presentation, Dwayne. Does anybody have any questions? Councillor Whalen?
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor. Not a question, just a suggestion. You've been to 5, you're doing here tonight, your husband's in Cobalt. There's 23 municipalities in the district. If you go north to the Cochrane district, there's that many more. I'm wondering if you consider going to the Temiskaming Municipal Association or the Northeastern Ontario Municipal
That was suggested, yes, and that's something that we
I
are...
know TMA has discussed at length having a regional animal control, so this might fit in well with that as well. So, plus, you're not trying to get 23 people to one meeting, which...
No, we have sent an email asking for a registered delegation to 18 councils. Kirkland Lake has their own advocates for northern animals. Tracy Barb runs that. Northern Animals Rescue basically takes in animals from north of North Bay, like Martin River area, up until Kirkland, and sometimes over into Quebec from Notre Dame.
It's just a suggestion. If you went to TMA, you could eliminate your workload of, trying to meet with all the municipalities, so that might be an option for you.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to mention just one last thing. I just found out tonight someone called and had 10 puppies they want to bring in to the rescue. They said they found the dog on the highway, took it in, couldn't find the owner. It was pregnant, had puppies. We don't really believe the story, so what's happening is people are making up stories because people are... rescues and humane societies are closing to surrenders, so people are either opening their doors and letting their animals out, or they are making up stories so that they can bring them in.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Wilson?
Thank you very much for your presentation. It was excellent. And I sit on a provincial board, and my colleagues around the table, certainly we have this discussion about this in right across the province. So I know there's some significant issues. So thank you for bringing it to our attention, and I appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. And so we do have your request, and we'll get some input from staff, and we will get back to you.
And report it. That would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Takes us to item B, and we have Steve Ackland from Kemp Elliott and Blair, and Stephanie Levy, our treasurer, are going to present the 2023 audited financial statements. So we'll start with Steve, and then Stephanie's just his backup.
That's right. When you ask the tough questions, then I'll lean on Steph for that. Anyway, good evening, everyone. Just to start, just go over some usual questions we have before we present the year end. Does anyone have any questions or concerns about the audit process? And does anyone have any knowledge of fraud or any concerns of possible fraud? And subsequent events, has anything happened since year end that might need to be reported in the statements or notes that you're aware of? Okay. So we'll move on to the next page. And I'm just going to read over the opinion paragraph. We have audited the consolidated financial statements of the Corporation of the City of Temiskaming Shores, which comprise the consolidated statement of financial position as at December 31, 2023, and the consolidated statements of operations, change in net financial assets, net debt, and cash flows for the year then ended, and notes to the financial statements, including a summary of significant accounting policies. In our opinion, the accompanying consolidated financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the Corporation of the City of Temiskaming Shores as at December 31, 2023, and the results of its operations, change in net financial assets, net debt, and cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. And that's what you want us to say. So we'll move on to the next page. So this is your consolidated statement of financial position. At the end of the year, your cash balance was down to $3.2 million. Tax receivables are at 1.6, so around the same level as last year. Your accounts receivable were down to $2 million, so there was a lot of ICIP funding that was in other capital funding that was received during the year. And then your inventories for resale are at $2 million. There were some lots that were sold this year. On the liability side, accounts payable and accrued liabilities at 3.7, so same as with the revenues. Some of those capital projects were paid this year that had carried over at the end of last year. Deferred revenue is at 800,000. Most of that is some deferred OCIF funding, NORDS funding, and then some other small amounts. And then I'm going to skip the next one and go to municipal debts at 10.7 million. So you were able to pay down some of your municipal debt more than the proceeds you received during the year. And then we'll go back to the next line. So this is a new line on the statements. Before we showed landfill closure, post-closure liability. That's now included in asset retirement obligations, which encompass more than the landfill liability. So that's what the firm 360 was hired for, was to determine this number. So it includes, as well as the landfill sites, hazardous building materials or potential hazardous building materials, gravel pit, and then there's some regulations around water wells and pump houses. So at the end of the year, your net debt position has gone up from 11 million to 15 million. There's going to be a change in focus on how you look at the statements. Usually we like to look at that number. A big part of that net debt position is unfinanced or amounts to be recovered for the asset retirement obligations and the municipal debt, because there will be with the municipal debt, you budget the repayments every year. With the asset retirement obligations, when you get to the event that creates the actual need to do that project, you'll deal with it at that time. So at this point, it shows as an amount to be recovered. So when we back out that it's almost $19 million, that would actually put you into a net financial asset position of about $4 million. So I say that's the number to kind of focus on more. When you back out those two numbers, then it looks a little more presentable than a negative 15 million. And then you have your non-financial assets, mainly being your tangible capital assets of 94 million. So at the end of the year, your accumulated surplus is just under $80 million. Any questions on that so far? So I'm going to skip ahead for now. So on this page here, this is actually your statement of operations on budget basis. And looking at your operating revenues, you couldn't really get much closer total. Your budgeted operating revenues were 30.3 million. Actual were 30.3 million, so on $30 million to be 8,000 different is pretty good. There are some areas where the revenues are up or down, but overall, you're pretty much in line with what you had expected. Same thing on the capital revenue side. You'd budgeted just under 1.6, and the actual were just over 1.6. So again, you're really on point with that. And then the only area where you're a little lower is on the new debt issued. You had budgeted $3.5 million, actually received $600,000, and that $600,000 was really debt from prior year projects. So the new debt issued, just based on discussions, there was a plan to defer because you did have the resources to be able to do that, to try and get better financing. So yeah, so that's the only area that you were, I guess, under budget. Moving on to the next page, On the expenditure side, same thing. Some areas were a little higher or lower, but overall you budgeted just under 27.4 million, and the actual expenditures were just under 27.8. So again, you're really in line with what you had expected and planned to do. On the capital expenditures, there was one larger project that wasn't fully done during the year, so your actual capital expenditures were a little lower than budgeted. And then your long-term debt repayments were pretty much in line with what you had expected. So on a budget basis, you'd budgeted a deficit of 3.3 million. The actual was 5 million, but when you take into account that 3.5 million of capital ventures that you deferred, that would have actually put you in a deficit of 1.5 million, which is, quite a bit better than what you'd budgeted. So I'd say overall you did well with what you're doing this year. And so now we'll move on to the next page, which is the statement of operations on a PSAB basis. We'll go through this fairly quickly too. So no difference on the revenues here other than we don't show debt financing on the PSAB statements. So you budgeted 31.9 million and your actual were 31.9 million. Going on to the next page on the expenditures. The main difference here on the total expenditures between budget and actual is really amortization. The amount that was budgeted was, I think, about 1.2 less than the actual. So overall, you were still pretty much in line with what you had expected to do on an expenditure basis. So your annual surplus, you budgeted on a PSAB basis a surplus of 1.7 million, and the actual is a deficit of just under 540,000. Any questions so far? Okay, we'll move on to the next page. This is your statement of change in net financial assets, net debt. And just going through the middle column, starting with your deficit of 539,000, and then your acquisition of tangible capital assets and amortization, as well as your consumption of supplies, inventories, and prepaids, gives you a decrease in your net financial assets, net debt of 3.9 million. And as I mentioned, so that brings your net financial asset, net debt position from 11 million to 15 million. Any questions? Okay, on the next page, this is the statement of cash flows. So your cash provided by operating activities this year was 6 million. You used 8 million for capital and 1 million for financing. So you had a decrease in cash of just over 3 million. Again, if you had taken out that 3.5 million of debt financing that you had budgeted, you would have actually had a slight increase in cash. So at the end of the year, your cash position was at 3.2 million. But again, you made that conscious decision to try and, save money, not spend as much. So moving on to the next page. So this is a note. It'll only be in here this year. So this is the note that details, because we restated last year's numbers for the asset retirement obligations, the changes that would have been there for last year for comparative purposes. So this note just goes through what those changes are. So as you can see on the financial position, you didn't have asset retirement obligations, now you do. And the landfill closure, post-closure liability is now incorporated in that asset retirement obligation line. Your tangible capital assets increased by 1.3 million, so that's the net book value of the asset addition that was created with the asset retirement obligations. So when you incur an asset retirement obligation, when it first is established, you have an addition to your capital asset and the liability, and then the liability grows by what they call an accretion expense, and the asset is depreciated from that value over the useful life of the asset that it's attached to. And then, yeah, you can see your accumulated surplus then decreased by $5.5 million. If you go to the next page, same thing. So it just goes through the different departments. And each of those expenses are essentially a combination of the accretion expense and the amortization. So overall, combined, it increased your deficit by $300,000 last year, about the same number this year. And that's the combination of the accretion expense and the amortization expense. On the statements change in net financial assets, same thing, just shows the deficit of $300,000, which is the change in the accretion and amortization, and then the adjustment to your net financial asset net debt position was $6.5 million. And then the cash flows, so you can actually see the change in asset retirement obligations is the accretion expense, which is just under $227,000, and the amortization of the assets. Some of the assets are fully amortized at this point because they were the obligation was established like back in 1970, and most of the assets have about a 50-year useful life. So they've been fully depreciated, but there are still some assets that are being depreciated. So there's about $50,000 a year of depreciation on those assets. If we go to the next page, so this is so the note we just went over, that's a one-time note just to explain the changes. This note you'll have each year, so it just shows your asset retirement obligation balance and what the asset retirement obligations are comprised of. Sorry, just trying to jump there. So at the end of 2022, the balance of your asset retirement obligations was $8.3 million. In 2023, it's $8.5 million. As you do work on any of those, or you actually have to close, if you discover that the biggest one I'd say is the hazardous material removal. If you find that there's less work to be done than what they estimate, then that liability will decrease. And then with the landfill sites, Hellebury's closed, so as you incur the costs of post-closure care, that should reduce the liability. But overall, those numbers are just going to keep increasing based on inflation. And then, so the breakdown of the asset retirement obligations, there's the landfill sites, there's hazardous material removal, which is essentially asbestos, and again, that's based on their best estimate of likelihood and estimated cost to remediate the property. There's also an obligation related to gravel pits, getting them back into terminology is escaping me at the moment, but basically to rehabilitate the property. And then there's also costs related to the water wells and pump houses. There's specific obligations related to those. If we go to the next page, so this is your accumulated surplus, and so your reserves, surpluses, and deficits. So you've got, at the end of the year, your working capital reserve is at $6 million. The environmental is down to $300,000, but you had budgeted a large amount of, or use of reserve balances for your capital projects in '23. And then the rest of them, in total, your reserve balances at the end of the year are right around $8 million. And so what I look at when I'm looking at your reserve balances, if they're at about $8 million and your annual revenues are around $30 million, means you've got about, anywhere from a quarter to 30% of your annual revenues available. On the amounts to be recovered, we've got amounts for the asset retirement obligations and the long-term debt. And then the unfinanced capital outlay, that's just all related to the debt financing for some of those capital projects that were done this year that you haven't received yet. So that brings your reserve surpluses and deficits to $15 million, which is your net debt position. Any questions?
Thanks for your presentation, Steve. Could you repeat that?
Yeah. Yep, no problem.
Does anybody have any questions for Steve? No?
Like I said, everything looked like you did what you wanted to do, so.
Yeah, so maybe just a couple of comments, Steve. The Coles Note version, so really, the revenues and the expenses were pretty much in line, with the exception of the change in accounting principles when we talk about the asset retirement obligations. Yep. That's created, some challenges.
Yeah, it was about, like I said, it's about $300,000 every year of additional expenditure that's going to show on the statements. So I'll get those schedules to Stephanie, so then she'll be able to build that into future budgets. So 2024 isn't going to have it because we didn't have, you wouldn't have had those numbers yet, but hopefully once you start working on 2025, I can get those numbers to her and awesome. Get them incorporated. So
okay, and then on the cash flow side, pretty much what we were expecting, with the exception of us postponing doing some debenture issues because we were utilizing cash we had on hand and waiting for a better interest rate.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and you were in a position where you could do that, right? So that's kind of fortunate.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions, comments? Okay, I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that Council of the City of Temiskaming Shores hereby acknowledges receipt and approves the 2023 consolidated financial statements for the City of Temiskaming Shores as prepared by the firm of Kemp, Elliott & Blair, LLP, Chartered Accountants, and that Council directs the Treasurer to provide public notice that a copy of the 2023 consolidated financial statements are available at City Hall and on the City's website in accordance with Section 295 of the Municipal Act 2001. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Whalen, seconded by Councillor Peltier-Levin. Discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. Takes us to item 10, correspondence and communication. 10A, thanks, Steve. 10A from Stacey White, the Board of Health Chair for the Temiskaming Health Unit, and that's perspectives from Northern Ontario for the Public Health Funding Review, and that was received for information. 10B from Carrie Hanselman, the Clerk for the Municipality of East Ferris, read the resolution of support to establish a combined Roma-AMO annual conference, that was received for information. Item C from the Earlton-Temiskaming Regional Airport Authority, read the financials for May 2024, June 2024, July 2024, and August 2024, received for information. D from Mayor James Leduc, the Town of Brantford, West Gwillimbury, read the resolution of support for the Ontario Deposit Return Program, that was received for information. Item E from Steve Rideout, the Superintendent Commander for Municipal Policing Bureau. Read the OPP Municipal Policing 2025 Annual Billing Statement Package that was received for information. Item F from Jennifer Coughlin, the Mayor of Township of Springwater, read the resolution of support for AMO and OMA Joint Health Resolution Campaign that was received for information. Item G, from the Temiskaming Health Unit, and that was read a report to the Board of Health for Q2 mid-year review, and that's January to June 2024, that was received for information. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved, the Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores agrees to deal with communication items 10A through G in accordance with the agenda references. Can I get a mover, please? It's Councillor Wilson. Second by Councillor Graydon. Discussion? Is there anybody? Councillor Whalen?
Could I ask for item D to be brought back for discussion at a future date?
D, yeah. Okay. Councillor Wilson?
Yes, agreed, D as well, so that's great. I just wanted to comment on 10A and the letter from Stacey White regarding the Temiskaming Health Unit, and I just wanted to say about the excellent work that Temiskaming Health Unit does, and some, the letter and the report with it identifies some of the challenges around funding health units in Northern Ontario, and I think it's a really good read for people to look at. We support the Temiskaming Health Unit as an important part of our community, and yet there are some challenges that we face in the north that are a little less so in the south. So I just wanted to bring that point up. And also 10F, if we could bring that back, please, too.
Did you get 10F? Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, we do have a resolution in front of us. All in favor? That motion is carried. Takes us to item 11, Committees of Council, Community and Regional. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that the following minutes be accepted for information. A, the minutes from the Earlton Temiskaming Regional Airport Authority, meeting held on May the 16th, 2024. B, the minutes from the Temiskaming Shores Public Library Board meeting held on June the 26th, 2024. And C, the minutes from the Temiskaming Health Unit Board of Health meetings held on June the 12th, 2024, and on September the 4th, 2024. Can I get a mover, please? It's Councillor Graydon. Second by Councillor Pelchy-Levin. Discussion? All in favor? And that motion is carried. It takes us to item 12, reports by members of council. And I'll just start with Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a brief report on Planet Youth here in Temiskaming, and I'm honored to sit on the steering committee of this organization. And Planet Youth is a group within our Temiskaming Health Unit, and looks at improving our community for youth in particular. And it's based on what's called the Icelandic model of basically dealing with alcohol and substance abuse in youth. Many years ago, Iceland had a serious problem associated with youth and substance abuse and alcohol, and they developed a program to establish support programs, and they've spread this program around the world, and our Temiskaming Health Unit is participating in that. And it's a program to reframe how we look at alcohol and youth, and find solutions to ensure youth are engaged in our communities. The local municipalities have really stepped up as well with volunteers, and there's 3 action teams within Temiskaming, one in the north, one in central, and one in the south, and City of Temiskaming Shores is part of the south region, and the South Temiskaming Action Team has been disseminating local data from a survey that was done with youth in the wider community, and the engagement with local youth, parents, and professionals has confirmed that there are abundant services for activities for families with children that was 0 to 6, 6 to 12, but in fact the children above that age, 12 plus, there are fewer activities for some groups of our youth. So the team is building an action plan that includes organized after-school activities for teens. Anyone is welcome to join the team and contribute to creating healthier community environments for youth. So that's my first report. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Wilson. Anybody have any questions for Councillor Wilson? No? Okay. Councillor Wilson for the Roma report for the Parry Sound Municipal Association meeting held on September the 27th, 2024.
Yeah, just a quick summary of that. I sit on the Rural Ontario Municipal Association, and part of my duties are to travel to some of the regional municipal associations and talk about what the Rural Ontario Municipal Association, Roma, is doing, but also to learn about what some of the issues are in various parts of the Northern Ontario. I represent Northeastern Ontario. One point I wanted to raise was they've established in the Parry Sound Almaguin District a regional task force that's working on developing housing task force that's working on improving housing supply in the Almaguin and Parry Sound regions. They have some of the same issues we have as well, with labor shortages and generally low developer activities. But there's also been discussion among communities about aligning official plans and bylaws to establish some consistency within the smaller communities in that area. There was also criticism of the provincial government, which has been modifying the Planning Act too much in the last number of years, which is making the situation difficult. Lastly, the event was also an excellent opportunity to discuss various municipal issues during networking sessions, and a great opportunity to meet some staff from the various ministries. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Wilson. Anybody have any questions for Councillor Wilson? Anybody else have any reports they want to share? I'm seeing none. I just have I have a few I'd like to bring up. The first one is the 2025 Roma Conference, and normally we're in the budget process, and the Roma Conference comes early on, and normally we approve who's going to go to the Roma Conference. And this year there's a bit of a conflict. The Roma Conference is during the same time as one of our council meetings, so I will not be attending Roma. My understanding is Councillor Wilson and Councillor Whalen will be attending, that conference. So my suggestion would be, both of those individuals can cover, our representation at that conference, and then when we have the other conferences that come forward, we'll take a look at those and make sure that everybody has an opportunity to participate in those. Everybody okay with that? Any concerns? Councillor Whalen?
Yeah, I'll be attending once again as president of Phenom, but my entire bill will be picked up by my other organization. The city won't pay for any of it, but I'll certainly participate in any city business. But depending on quorum, the clerk should know that we can always zoom in as well, just to allow for quorum.
Yep. Thanks, Councillor Whalen. Councillor Wilson?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just the same, that all my expenses are covered by Roma, and no cost to the city on that, and same point as Councillor Whalen. Thanks.
Awesome, thank you. The other item I wanted to bring up is the Earlton Temiskaming Airport Authority. I did forward a report, off to all of council, and at the last Airport Authority meeting in September, there was a report presented to the board, and it was looking at reviewing whether the airport should continue with its certification, or whether they should allow the certification to go and become a registered airport. that report identifies some of the impacts of that decision. As we were talking about it at the board, I asked that that information get brought back to all of the funding partners that are supporting the regional airport. Even though it is a standalone board, I think it's really important that everybody has a say in what that looks like. The reason they're looking at that change is for the airport to be certified. It does carry higher regulatory thresholds for them to follow. And with them not having any air passenger service going into the airport, that's the only reason they would want to keep that designation. If they were to give it up, there's about $70,000 savings over a 3-year period, and the thought is to take that money and put it into more maintenance and support, as well as equipment for the airport, not to send that money back anywhere. As well, I think the important piece, of this is that is a federal license, and if the airport does give up the certification, it'll be much more challenging to get, that certification back. You'll have to start from the ground level. So there are some, some concerns there. And if you were to look at bringing air passenger service back, there's a huge expense. Right now there is no terminal, no staffing, and no funding, from the federal and provincial government with regards to airports at this time. So it's creating some challenges, and that's why they were looking at it. So just looking for any input, from members of council, on that. Just, it will be discussed again at our upcoming meeting this Thursday. Councillor Whalen?
Yeah. When I was appointed to chair the Northern Ontario Transportation Task Force, we had an entire section on municipal airports. And as you mentioned, they're federally regulated. And we've lobbied both provincial and federal governments to quite an extent, but there's no extra money coming for them. So it's a huge expense to look at even bringing passenger service. So you're having your audit done, and then you have your audit audited is basically what you're paying for. So I think money saved, it can be spent and strengthen the airport for what we're currently using it for. So.
Thanks for your input, Councillor Whalen. It's appreciated. Any other comments? Councillor Peltier-Levin?
Yeah, I agree. The designation, and if you look at the trends for what's happening with air travel, everything is getting cut, so I don't see anything coming back in our area, unfortunately, anytime soon, and so it seems like that would be the direction, is just to downgrade it and use it for what it is, but not spend all this money keeping it up for something that might never come.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ducharme?
I just wanted to say that I'm in agreement. We've been a long time chasing passenger service. I do think there's a great deal of value in the healthcare side of things, which won't change with the change in designation, is my understanding. And so I would think that maintaining it for those purposes is more valuable than going into deficit after deficit, potentially losing it, all of that. So that's my thought.
Thanks, Councillor Ducharme. Okay, I think that's some good input for me to take back, to the board. I appreciate that. And then just the last item I wanted to share, and it was just from a meeting I attended, and it's October is National Bullying Prevention Month, and there was a great article that was in the speaker, and when you look at the health unit and a lot of things that are happening with our youth, let's all unite to eradicate bullying. According to the Canadian Institute of Health Research, at least one Canadian teenager out of 3 can tell stories about what it's like to be a victim of bullying at school. Other Canadian studies show that bullying occurs every 7 minutes in the playground and every 25 minutes in the classroom. Do these statistics shock you? Whether you're a student, a parent, educator, you have a role to play in putting an end to bullying. Types of bullying. Bullying is not only about pushing people around or calling them names. There are in fact 4 principal types of bullying, and being able to identify them is the first step in the fight to eradicate this scourge. Verbal bullying, insults, sarcasm, teasing, the spreading of rumors, threats, inappropriate sexual comments and slurs about culture, race, religion, gender, or sexual orientation. Social bullying, group threats, making a scapegoat of someone, exclusion, public humiliation, and demeaning graffiti. Physical bullying, hitting, pushing, pinching, hounding, jostling, stealing, or destroying possessions, and sexual touching of an undesirable nature. Cyberbullying, using the internet or text messaging to bully, humiliate, make fun of, or circulate rumors about someone. The devastating effects, just as there are many forms of bullying, there are also many devastating effects. Victims can experience an inordinate amount of insecurity, distress, withdrawal, isolation, fear, stress, anxiety, loss of self-confidence, and nightmares. Some victims can also feel physical symptoms such as headaches, stomach aches, nausea, fatigue, and panic attacks. Bullying can even lead to academic problems, including dropping out of school. In a few cases, and only one case is too many. The pain caused by bullying can cause the victims to consider committing suicide. No one should have to feel wounded or humiliated or live in fear or isolation. Let's all unite to eradicate bullying. And that's my report. Thanks. It takes us to item 13, notice of motions. And is there any notice of motions for tonight? No. Thank you. Takes us to item 14, new business, and 14A. Rockin' on Canada Day support, the notice of the motion from Councillor Whalen for September the 17th, the 2024 regular council meeting, and I will read the resolution. Whereas Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores recognizes the significant impact and social benefits of the Rock on Canada Day event, as well as the impact on our age-friendly community, and whereas Council recognizes the continued economic and social benefit of a strong collaboration between the Rock on Canada Day event organizers, city staff, and Council. Therefore, be it resolved, the Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores agrees to the 5 requests of the Rockin' on Canada Day event organizers, including 1, the use of the Don Shepherdson Arena and associated parking, 2, the use of the Fall Fairgrounds, 3, the land for RV parking, 4, the small stage and fencing, 5, the Canada Parade approval. And further be it resolved, the Council appoint a Council liaison to work with the Rockin' on Canada Day event organizers to ensure open communication between parties and realizing there may be other requests for Council consideration. And further be it resolved, the Council announced the return of Canada Day fireworks hosted by the City of Temiskaming Shores as part of the 2025 Rockin' on Canada Day event. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Whalen. By Councillor Graydon. Discussion? Councillor Whalen?
Yeah, so the first thing I want to do, Your Worship, is ask for a friendly amendment to remove the 1 through 5. And the reason I want to do that is because I brought forward this notice before we accepted staff's report that included these 5. And it also, the staff report that we adopted also spoke to an agreement between the city and the Rock on Canada Day Committee. So I don't want there to be any confusion between the two. And I spoke with the clerk about this, and she agrees that we shouldn't have 2 resolutions dealing with the same item. So a friendly amendment, if we could remove those from the resolution. Further to that, I just want to say that with regards to the fireworks, I I kicked myself for not putting more study into it last year, but I did this year, and I've found reports from the Smithsonian Institute, PETA, the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, as well as 2 other well-recognized veterinary magazines that speak at length about dogs and pets and fireworks. And it turns out that dogs aren't afraid of fireworks. About 1/3 of dogs have an annoyance to fireworks. All 4 of the reports suggest the best thing you can do is put the dog in the basement or in a bedroom and close the door. None of the reports suggest that we cancel fireworks, so that's why I'm supporting bringing back the fireworks as part of the Rock on Canada Day event.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Whalen. Any discussion? Does anybody have any comments? Maybe I'll read the amended resolution, if that's okay. It says, whereas Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores recognizes the significant impact and social benefits of the Rock on Canada Day event, as well as the impact on our age-friendly community, and whereas Council recognizes the continued economic and social benefit of a strong collaboration between the Rock on Canada Day event organizers, city staff, and Council, be it resolved that Council appoint a Council liaison to work with Rock on Canada Day event organizers to ensure open communication between parties and realizing there may be other requests for Council's consideration, and further be it resolved the Council announced the return of Canada Day fireworks hosted by the City of Temiskaming Shores as part of the 2025 Rockin' on Canada Day event. And I'll just, Councillor Whalen, you're okay with that amendment?
Yes, can I ask for a recorded vote as well?
You can. And Councillor Graydon, are you okay with that amendment? Okay. And just before we go to a recorded vote, Danny, I just want to be able to talk to that one as well. So here we talk about a council liaison, and I think we should be adding a city staff member as well. So I don't think it should just be a council member on that committee. If you're okay with that suggestion. Oops. Staff. And yeah. Okay. Councillor Ducharme?
Just a question about the council liaison position. Just what is what are they going to all their meetings, or are they just sort of a point of contact? Does the committee want a council liaison? Like, what's the? I just have some questions, Councillor Whalen, with how you sort of envision this kind of being,
okay, thanks.
Operational.
Thanks, Councillor Ducharme. Councillor Whalen?
Yeah, the reason I'm suggesting a council liaison is because the group meets as often as they can, but they're all employed. They have things to do. So if there needs to be a site visit, we have to walk the grounds and determine where things are. Some of us are retired and we're able to do that. So we can go gather the information and bring it back to council. Some of the decisions when you get closer to the event have to be made rather quickly, rather not wait for a month until there's another council meeting. So by having a council liaison, we can ask for a special meeting of council to deal with the issue. So we know firsthand what the issue is and what needs to be agreed to or discussed. So it's a more open line of communications, I believe.
Okay. Councillor Ducharme?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. It's not really a concern, because I know that we haven't sufficient sponsorship dollars to support a fireworks display, and I've been in favor of fireworks all along. But I'm wondering about ensuring that we're approving those fireworks, but then it comes back with the contract and the quotes and the sponsorship with the dollar amounts on these. Councillor Whelan, you, of course, taught me a lot about what I know, and one of them was come back with price tags and make sure that we're doing those things. So that would be my only thoughts about the fireworks, is that we're looking at that. I know that we have a lot of businesses that have been super supportive of our fireworks, but we did miss a year, so just making sure that that's still in place and that we know what we're getting into with that. Big fan of fireworks, but that's my only thoughts around the fireworks piece of the motion.
Thanks, Councillor Ducharme. Did you want to comment to that, Councillor Whelan? No?
No, I think if James was here, we could probably quiz him on the workings of funding the fireworks, but without him here, I wouldn't want to speak on his behalf.
Yeah, so just maybe to answer your question, Councillor Ducharme, is we're not approving a dollar amount today. What we're approving is that we're in agreement to bring back the fireworks, and then, there'll be a process that will be kicked off where we can send out the tenders and that kind of stuff, and then we'll be able to take a look at it and see, what is affordable and what gets approved through that process. But I think the message here is should we be bringing back the fireworks? Okay, is that clear? So again,
Yeah, thank you for that.
Councillor Whelan, Councillor Graydon, you're okay with the amendment to just include the staff member as part of... Yep, okay. So we do have a resolution in front of us. Hello, Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say I just wanted to thank some of the people that came forward to me to provide support after the September 10th event. I'd also like to thank Mayor LaFerriere for clearly outlining this at our last council meeting, clearly outlining the support the city had provided at the last event, and that the city offered alternative locations for some of the event as well. I look forward to the establishment of this strategic alliance agreement, as Councillor Ducharme had mentioned, which will require the city staff are treated with respect and communications are complete and accurate. And I'm looking forward to an excellent event, and I think that's really what we're here for. Just in regards to fireworks, my concern is more about our lake, and I realize it's a small thing, but I think it's a signal we send. So when we look at 15 minutes of fireworks, and we're, actually doing it, the location puts lead, copper, iron, lithium, barium, oxidizers, nitrates, perchlorates into our lake. Now, I realize it's a small amount, but if I had a pail and I walked down to the edge of the lake on the docks and I dumped it in the water, I'd probably be charged under the MOE. So, I'm more concerned about just sort of the impression that gives, and so maybe with our discussions around financing for the fireworks, we can also talk about location, and that may be something that it can be up for further discussion. So, as I said, I know it's a relatively small amount of hazardous materials that are going to the lake, but it's the principle behind it, and that's my concern around fireworks. So, okay, so thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Wilson. Go ahead, Councillor Whelan.
You wish I'd bite my tongue, eh? I understand your concern, but if we're really worried about pollution Lake Temiskaming, we can enforce our current laws and stop the rolling coal, to drive through in a diesel truck and like to see how many city blocks they can blow black smoke. So if you're really worried about protecting the lake, we should try and enforce those rules and not worry about 30 minutes worth of fireworks once a year. So, just my opinion.
Thanks. Councillor Graydon.
I find myself in agreement with Councillor Wilson, more on the fact that there's questions, and the original motion that came up last year, it came to us as with a monetary point, we discussed the environmental impacts, and there was a fairly fulsome discussion around it. I don't really want to get into the for it or against it at the moment. I would personally prefer if we voted on these as two separate issues. That would be my choice, because I don't think they necessarily go together. One is support of the event, and one is support of a whole different thing that has different questions, and the location is one of them. A member of the public brought it to our attention that the last scheduled fireworks was meant to be here in Hellebury, in the southern end of the city. So I don't know. I would be, if we wanted to separate them into two separate motions, that would make sense to me.
Okay. Councillor Whalen?
Yeah, my apologies. I ask that further be it resolved, the council announce the return of the Canada Day fireworks hosted by the City of Temiskaming Shores as part of the 2025 Rockin' on Canada Day event, so they do go hand in hand.
Okay. Yeah. So I think, for Councillor Whalen, I look at the wording, and it is as part of the Rockin' on Canada Day event. I think that addresses your question with regards to location, and I think so I think we'll deal with this motion as it was tabled and amended. So Councillor Whalen did ask for a recorded vote. So Councillor Pelcher-Living, did you? Sure, I'll give you one more comment. Sure.
Okay, thank you. I would have also been more comfortable voting separately for the fireworks, and I'll just say a few words about that. So I love fireworks. When it was time for the renewal of the contract, I said that as well. But I wondered with the 3-year renewal whether it was time to explore different options at that time for some of the concerns about animal, whether it's domestic animals or whether it's wildlife. We also have people who suffer from certain mental health situations and things like that. And so other cities obviously have explored these same things. So it was never the intention that there wouldn't be anything. It was my impression that we would have a report back with different options that we could look at. So I feel a little bit pressed to vote sort of against that motion, and not having heard back about different options that could be explored to celebrate. So that's. So if the motions could be separate, then I could support something and maybe not support the other. So that's a decision to make. And the other thing, just about the council liaison, I wonder if we're going to be, so I wonder if there'll be confusion about that with the strategic alliance document as well. So now so I take your point about sort of enabling certain steps to go forward. I also find that there's lots more time this year to plan for the event, for the organizing committee and relations with councils and different and so on. So I wonder if other events are going to come forward and also request a council appointee, and how are we going to make that decision? And so I'm just kind of sitting in the middle of a few things here.
Thanks, Councillor Pelcher-Living. I'm just going to ask Councillor Whalen one last time if you want to separate those two motions. We do have a motion on the table, so I don't want to confuse it. And then just to answer your comment with regards to other committees, I hope they do. Because the improved communication is going to help everybody. So I would be open to having that conversation with any organization that wants to improve the communication between them and making sure the event's a successful one. Councillor Whalen, one last time, do you want to separate those two issues before we vote?
No, this is my notice of motion. That's why I brought it forward. The committee is already meeting and working hard towards the event. I think by the time we get a report from staff on fireworks and then look at booking for fireworks, we probably wouldn't get them for 2025. That's why I just asked for the 1 year, not the 3-year agreement.
Perfect. Thank you. So it's pretty clear. Do you want me to read the motion again? Pretty clear for everybody? Okay, we are going to go with a recorded vote.
Thank you. Councillor Whalen.
In favor?
Councillor Ducharme.
In favor.
Councillor Graydon.
In favor.
Councillor Pelletier-Living.
I'll vote in favor.
Councillor Wilson.
In favor?
Your worship, the motion carries.
Thank you. It takes us to item B, proclamations, the biannual proclamation schedule. I do have a resolution in front of me. Whereas at the February 6, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting, Council approved the development of a biannual proclamation schedule. Be it resolved that Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores hereby proclaims the following days in the City of Temiskaming Shores: Alzheimer's Awareness Month for the month of January 2025, Pink Shirt Day, February 26, 2025, Epilepsy Awareness Month from the month of March 2025, International Women's Day, March 8th, 2025, National Transit Driver Appreciation Day, March 18th, 2025, Purple Shirt Day, March 26th, 2025, World Autism Awareness Day, April the 2nd, 2025, Community Living Month, the month of May 2025, Emergency Preparedness Week, the first week of May 2025, Mental Health Awareness Week, the first week of May 2025, Victims and Survivors of Crime Week, May 2025, Day of Action on Litter, May the 13th, 2025, Canada Road Safety Week, May 2025, National Public Works Week, May 18th to 24th, 2025, Paramedic Services Week, May 18th to the 24th, 2025, Recreation and Parks Month for the month of June 2025, Bike Month, also June 2025, Seniors Month, also June 2025, and Pride Season, also June 2025. Hope Air Day, June the 7th, 2025, World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, June the 15th, 2025, and National Indigenous Day, June the 21st, 2025. And further, the Council of the City of Temiskaming Shores respectfully acknowledges the importance of honoring these holidays in the City of Temiskaming Shores. New Year's Day, January the 1st, 2025, Family Day, February the 17th, 2025, Good Friday, April the 18th, 2025, Easter Monday, April the 21st, 2025, Victoria Day, May 19th, 2025. And can I get a mover, please? It's Councillor Graydon. Second by Councillor Whalen. Discussion? All in favor? And that motion is carried. Takes us to item C, memo number 036-2024-CS, the council seat vacancy appointment. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores acknowledges receipt of memo number 036-2024-CS, that Council appoint Dan Dawson as Councillor for the City of Temiskaming Shores for the remainder of the 2022-2026 term of Council, and that Council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to confirm the appointment of Dan Dawson as Councillor for the City of Temiskaming Shores for the remainder of the 2022-2026 term for consideration at the October 15th, 2024 regular council meeting. Can I get a mover? No. Councillor Graydon? Can I get a seconder? Councillor Pelletier-Living? Discussion? All in favor? motion is carried. Next is item D, Administrative Report, CS-035-2024, the site plan agreement with Jarlette Health Services Limited for Phase 2. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores acknowledges receipt of Administrative Report CS-035-2024. That Council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to enter into a site plan control agreement with Jarlette Health Services Limited for the property at 144 Drive-In Theatre Road for consideration at the October 15th, 2024 regular council meeting. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Wilson. Seconded by Councillor Graydon. Discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. Takes us to item E, Administrative Report CS-036-2024, the tender award for the MTC Brazeau Municipal Drain Repair. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores acknowledges receipt of Administrative Report CS-036-2024, and that Council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to enter into an agreement with Pedersen Construction 2013 Inc. for the repair of the MTC Brazeau Municipal Drain in the amount of $42,280 plus applicable taxes for the consideration at the October 15th, 2024 regular council meeting. Can I get a mover, please? It's Councillor Graydon. Seconded by Councillor Peltier-Living. Discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. Takes us to item F, Administrative Report CS-037-2024, the replacement of highway signs. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores acknowledges receipt of Administrative Report CS-037-2024, and that Council directs staff to replace the 6 city highway signs along Highway 11 and along Highway 65 East using the remaining funds within the 2024 Canada Community Building Fund, $9,802.58, and the city's marketing budget to complete the remainder of the project. Can I get a mover, please? It's Councillor Whalen. Seconded by Councillor Graydon. Discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. Takes us to item G, memo number 026-2024-RS, the Green and Inclusive Community Buildings Grant Application. And I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved, the Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores acknowledges receipt of memo number 026-2024-RS, and the Council approves a funding application to the small and medium retrofit project stream of the Green and Inclusive Community Buildings Program for energy efficiency upgrades to the waterfront pool and fitness center, and further that the municipality will cover the matching portion of the required funds at a 20% contribution rate for eligible capital costs. Can I get a mover, please? It's Councillor Wilson. Seconded by Councillor Peltier-Living. Discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. Takes us to item H, Administrative Report PW-028-2024, the disposal of recycling carts update. And I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores acknowledges receipt of Administrative Report PW-028-2024, and that Council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to enter into an agreement with GFL Environmental Inc. for the purchase of 4,685 95-gallon recycling carts in the amount of $125,000 plus applicable taxes for consideration at the October 15th, 2024 regular council meeting. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Whalen, seconded by Councillor Graydon. Discussion? Councillor Whalen?
Yeah, just quickly, I don't want to take up too much time, but I remember when we bought these bins and when we first started talking about the manufacturer paying for a cost of recycling, That's a long time ago, and we thought we'd be replacing these bins once or twice in this period of time. I know my bin at home is still as good as the day it was delivered, so getting this kind of return on it is pretty nice to see, so thanks to staff for that.
Thanks, Councillor Whalen. The top of that container hasn't been touched. So all in favor? That motion is carried. This takes us to bylaws. The 15A, municipal business. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2024-115, a bylaw of the Corporation of the City of Temiskaming Shores to authorize the borrowing upon serial debentures in the principal amount of $1,043,727 towards the cost of the Albert Street full reconstruction Phase 1. Bylaw number 2024-116, a bylaw of the Corporation of the City of Temiskaming Shores to authorize the borrowing upon serial debentures in the principal amount of $382,500.06 towards the cost of Grant Drive extension. Bylaw number 2024-117, a bylaw of the Corporation of the City of Temiskaming Shores to authorize the borrowing upon serial debentures in the principal amount of $544,009.04 towards the cost of the new fire station in Hillbury. Bylaw number 2024-118, being a bylaw to adopt the 2024-2025 winter operations plan for the City of Temiskaming Shores. Bylaw number 2024-119, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Fippen Waste Management Limited for the collection, removal, and disposal of refuse, and for the operation and maintenance of the New Liskeard Municipal Landfill Site. Bylaw number 2024-120, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with GFL Environmental Inc. for the sale of 4,684 95-gallon recycling carts. Bylaw number 2024-121, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2012-039 as amended to adopt schedules of departmental user fees and services for the City of Temiskaming Shores, Schedule D, recreation service fees. Bylaw number 2024-122, being a bylaw to stop up and close a highway, a portion of Diamond Crescent described as Part 1 on Plan 54R-6453. Bylaw number 2024-123, being a bylaw to authorize the sale of land for a portion of Diamond Crescent described as Part 1 on Plan 54R-6453 to 2844371 Ontario Inc. Bylaw number 2024-124, being a bylaw to adopt a council vacancy policy for the City of Temiskaming Shores. Bylaw number 2024-125, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2022-185 to appoint community representatives to various committees and boards for the 2022-2026 term of council. That was for the New Liskeard Business Improvement Area Board of Management. Bylaw number 2024-126, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a site plan control agreement with Charlotte Health Services Limited for Diamond Concession 3, parcel lot 9, RP 54R6138, parts 1 to 3 on 144 Drive-In Theatre Road, Temiskaming Shores. Bylaw number 2024-127, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Pedersen Construction 2013 Inc. for the repair of the MTC Brazeau Municipal Drain. Be hereby introduced and given first, second, and third and final reading, be signed by the Mayor and Clerk, and the corporate seal affixed thereto. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Graydon. Thanks for not asking me to repeat that. And seconded by Councillor Pelletier-Living. Discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. Now to the fun part of the evening. Council vacancy appointment bylaw. And I do have a bylaw in front of me. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2024-128 being a bylaw to appoint Dan Dawson to fill the vacancy in the office of councillor for the corporation of the city of Temiskaming Shores, be hereby introduced and given first, second, and third and final reading, be signed by the mayor and clerk and the corporate seal affixed thereto. I can't get a mover or a seconder. Oh. I think it's Councillor Whalen, seconded by Councillor Peltier-Levin. Discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. And part 2 is a declaration of office for Dan. The oath of office and declaration of allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III to be administered by the clerk to Councillor Dan Dawson. So Dan, if you want to come up to the podium. And don't be too quick. I think Darlene wants to get a photo.
Okay, I, Dan Dawson, having been appointed to the office of councillor in the city of Temiskaming Shores, do solemnly promise and declare that I, 1, will willfully, will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise the office to the best of my knowledge and ability. Number 2, I have not yet received or will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or improper manner. Number 3, I will disclose any pecuniary interests, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Number 4, I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III, and I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously, believing it to be true and knowing that it is the same force and effect as if made under oath.
Thanks, Dan. On behalf of council, we welcome Dan Dawson as councillor for the city of Temiskaming Shores and look forward to working with him throughout the term. We extend our appreciation for Dan's commitment to serving the community, his experience and dedication to the city, including his service on local boards and committees, makes him an excellent candidate for the role. If you want to join us at the table, thank you. Takes us to item 16. This is where we put Dan to work, scheduled council meetings. A, we have a committee of the whole meeting scheduled for November the 5th, 2024, starting at 3 p.m. And B, a regular council meeting scheduled for November the 19th, 2024, starting at 6 p.m. And it takes us to a question and answer period. Does anybody have any questions for council? Seeing none, we don't have any closed session. Takes us to item 19, confirming bylaw. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2024-129, being a bylaw to confirm certain proceedings of council of the corporation of the city of Temiskaming Shores for its committee of the whole meeting held on October the 1st, 2024, its special meetings held on September the 17th, 2024, and on October the 7th, 2024, and for its regular meeting held on October the 15th, 2024, be hereby introduced and given first, second, and third and final reading, and be signed by the mayor and clerk and the corporate seal affixed thereto. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Whalen. Can we take that? Yeah. And I think, I know it's hard, Dan, that's a heavy hand, but seconded by Dan Dawson. Discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. And item 20, adjournment. I do have a resolution. Be it resolved, the council hereby adjourns its meeting at 7:31. And can I get a mover, please? It's Councillor Radin. Second by Councillor Peltier-Levin. All in favor? And we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.